And welcome to H.Y.S.T. I'm Bradley Hackworth, joined by Jonathan Ems, otherwise known by Doc, an author, a writer, a what else?
Occasional actor, occasional tech, techie. I
Sure.
move stuff around too. I have gotten into a lot of interesting places by offering to carry heavy things in.
It's a good way to
It's
get in.
it's worked really well for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't look like much, but I can heft. I got got strong knees.
Lucky you. The rest of us
Hmm.
don't.
Yep.
That's like the one thing that the rest of us have all lost. Like we all have bad backs and knees. So, the two movies that we're covering today are Reefer Madness and Master and Commander. I got into Reefer Madness, and well, hell, let's just get right into it. So, Reefer Madness, written by Kevin Murphy and Dan Studney, directed by Andy Fickman, starring Alan Cumming, Christian Campbell, Thomas Dekker, Andrea McArdle, Leslie Margarita, James Snyder, Harry S. Murphy, John Kassir, Amy Spanger, Jenna Lee Green, and Leah Delaria. Now, when I say that this movie is starring all of them, this movie is starring all of them.
Yep.
Like,
No, everyone is in the spotlight in this movie. They are just tearing the house down. Can you
very.
imagine seeing this on Broadway, which is what it was for the first? Well, it was off Broadway, but it was a play. But can you imagine
I
seeing this on
would
stage
love to see
for
this,
the
and
first
it
few
is.
years?
It's coming back in March, and Christian Campbell, who played Jimmy, is
Right.
producing it.
And he wasn't he one of the original producers of the show? I can't remember.
I don't believe he was one of the original producers of the show, so he got that role because while Nev Campbell, his sister, was filming Party of Five,
Hmm.
one of the writers
Oh,
was also working tech for Party of
Nev Campbell
Five.
is his sister. I thought they were cousins this whole time. Okay, that makes even more sense.
Yes. And at least what I read said sister. I don't know. That might have been wrong. I'm just going off of what I read. Now, Nev Campbell was working on Party of Five, and one of the writers was working on the crew for Party of Five. So when they were talking to Nev Campbell about it, she's like, "You should reach out to my brother. He's like really, really talented. He's really got it." So that's how Christian got in on this. Uh, oh
Nice.
my God, I didn't write her name down up top because it was such a huge deal. Oh, also Anna Gasteyer.
I know, right?
When she started singing,
I didn't know she had it in her until this one. Yeah, I know, right?
okay, because I don't really know her all that well. Like, I know her from appearances and here, this and that. The thing that I know her the most from is a TV show called Chuck, starring Zachary Levi.
Okay, I remember hearing about Chuck. I've had a few people tell
Probably
me I
from
should go
me.
back and watch
It's
it.
it's one of my favorite shows. And she plays this like hardcore Russian assassin who's going up against Timothy Dalton. You need to see this show, dude.
I gotta add your name to the list of the large number of people who have told me this. I know, I need to see Chuck.
The opening scene of Reefer Madness. You show a lot of the characters coming in. They don't have like any idea about marijuana. All the way up to where you have one of the characters going, Mary Jew? And then she like hands it to somebody. She's like, can you read this? I don't speak Mexican. I was just like, oh fucking God. Which
This movie was
movie is racist as
brutal.
hell.
It was brutal.
it is racist as hell, but completely
it's-
on purpose
Yeah, no,
because it's
basic.
making fun of like all this shit in the 30s.
It's basically pointing out that the entire point of marijuana being made illegal back when it was 100% racism.
Well, oh man, I did like this sent me down a rabbit hole of research that really just kind of like I tried to
Had
research
fact
Master and
check
Commander.
the satirical musical. That's what you did.
Uh-huh. But you have Alan Cummings, and oh my God, what a perfect actor to play this character. Alan Cummings was absolutely
He
perfect.
really was.
Fun fact, the executioner at the end of the movie played the original. Oh God, what was that?
The presenter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The executioner at the end of the movie was the presenter on stage.
Okay. Well,
So
that's good that those folks got a little bit of their just desserts when they got adapted.
Well, a lot of these actors were the same actors that were on the original Broadway. Yeah, like
Okay.
that, like the off Broadway, including Kristen Bell.
Really, Kristen Bell was in the original play of this. Good Lord. Could you love this woman anymore?
I really don't think I could, because I think like one of the first, because you know her originally from Veronica Mars.
Yes.
I know her originally from Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that was my introduction to her, and oh my God,
Also a really good introduction to her.
very much so. So when Alan Cumming is in this, and it just really harkens you back to it, but to that time of fear mongering and all of this, talking about the new menace that is marijuana, and it's worse than heroin. It's worse than.
And the way they do the approach too, because this isn't just your run of the mill like we're going out preaching in the streets. They're literally calling emergency PTA meetings. And like going right at the parents, like this is your kids.
Yep.
Like,
I was just about to say that. Yeah. So this whole thing takes place in a school, and is being presented to the parents, which, from my understanding, is actually how this went down back in the 1930s.
This is actually how this went down. Yes, they made this Reefer Madness movie, and they literally took it on tour to emergency PTA meetings around the country. This is exactly what they did.
So what you were talking about was like the look at your children, all that. But oh my God, I found out, I researched so much, and I know so much about why, and I can't wait to get into it.
Okay, all right.
So he tells everybody to pull out your wallet and look at the pictures of the children. They look. He's come by. He's like, handsome young man, spitting image of you. She is like all this stuff, and he talks about how this new menace, marijuana, turning all your children into hooligans and whores, like just. Great.
How's that for a theme song too?
Oh, it hit, and it hit well. So what I thought, because I'd never seen this, when like all the pictures turned into zombies and they were coming through the windows and all of this, I thought that was going to be the movie. I thought this was going to be Night of the Living Dead with weed. That's literally what I thought was about to happen, and then it completely cuts back to, don't you think you're being a little bit over the top? So I thought that was really clever. It completely fooled me, and I loved it. So I got to give him that. Christian Campbell and Kristen Bell, perfect pairing.
Yeah.
The joy in Jimmy, just how amazing Christian Campbell did as that character, and damn it again. Sidebar.
The delicate balance of playing two characters who are completely unaware of the concept of sex and yet still have electric sexual tension between them. I mean, I don't know how I would do that as an actor. I'm impressed.
I'm wildly impressed. But that's the power. That's the magic of musicals. You get to do things in musicals that just wouldn't play the same way in regular dialogue.
That is a very good point.
The Shakespeare song. So as they were going into and talking about, oh, I haven't read the end, and I bet it turns out great. And then you have Bill Shakespeare in the background going,
yeah.
But as it turns out, for the film, when they did this, they actually got all of the Shakespearean costumes from the Royal Shakespeare Academy.
What? Why? Okay, look, I'm impressed, and I'm glad to hear that.
Reefer Madness.
Why is that even necessary? I mean, we're talking about Shakespeare here. There are literally Shakespearean costumes laying around throughout the world. You don't need to go to the Royal Shakespeare Festival for Shakespearean costumes, especially if you live in Los Angeles. Your neighbor probably has a bunch in the fucking basement. Like
there has to be a reason they wanted it, and I'm guessing it's just because they could.
Yeah, well, you know what? Honestly, that is a good enough reason for me. Because
that would be a good enough reason for me, yeah.
Yeah, if I had that option, I suppose I would.
The intro into the drug den as, oh God, actually, no. Before I go into that, the introduction into Neve Campbell playing Miss Poppy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, first off, I did not know Neve Campbell did musical theater. I didn't know she did Broadway. That was all brand new information for me. So when I saw Neve Campbell, my brain didn't register Neve Campbell. I went, is that Haley Atwell?
Wow, I hadn't thought of that. Is a striking resemblance.
Young
Neve Campbell really does look a lot like young Haley Atwell. Yeah, they could be sisters. And now I want a movie where they play sisters.
I was actually thinking
Sister
about that
spies.
too. I'd watch that.
Hell yeah.
Haley Atwell is a freaking delight, and Neve Campbell, I can't think of anything I've ever seen her in that I didn't like.
Scream 3, but that doesn't count.
Well, that's not her fault, though.
No, yeah, that's why I say it doesn't count. Yeah.
Oh, okay, fair. Okay, so the intro into the drug den. The guy who played Jack. Did you ever watch Wings?
Oh yes. Oh, I know who Steven Weber is, sir. Yeah.
I didn't. I watched it the first time, and I was sitting there the whole movie. I'm like, I fucking know that guy. Where do I know that guy from? When we get to the drug den and you get to see, I do want
to make one quick comment since we're talking about like with Neve. You got the Neve Campbell scene, so they're doing
Miss Poppy,
yeah. Right. So they're doing the sock hop bit, and
dancing.
That the thing that I think encapsulates this movie is when they talk about how the President Roosevelt's coming and we're gonna go see him, and Christian Campbell's character goes, oh, President Roosevelt, my dad says that he's what was it? How does the line go? He's a union appeasing, court packing Bolshevik. And
you remember that line better than I do, and I just watched the movie twice.
I've seen the movie a few times over the years,
but
sure. Yeah, and says it with such joy. He's like, "That's my dad says he's a Bolshevik," and then Kristen Bell's character replies with, "Well, I don't know about all that boy stuff." Like, I mean,
they play her so dumb.
Like you could show that one scene to anybody, and they now know exactly what kind of movie it is they're watching, and they're in.
Oh,
they're sold.
Even before that, when they're sitting down to read about Shakespeare, and she's like, "Can we read the prologue or something?"
Yeah.
I can't even pronounce the way she messed that up. Like,
right.
Like they really made her dumb. But it's for the shift. It like the whole thing is for the shift.
When it happens, it happens.
Oh my god! And the intro into the drug den where he comes up and everybody's like has to clear the house and all this and clear all like the little orgy that's going on over there. And Andy Fickman, when he comes in and he's in. Oh my god, his intro, he's the first line of the movie. What am I thinking?
Oh yeah.
He has that joint, and he's like, and he just, like, bath salts mixed with heroin, and then, like, stacked on with cocaine and 48 Red Bulls. Like,
crazy laugh, yeah.
Yeah, he went nuts with it, and I don't even know how that dude was able to ever talk again. It looked like his lungs should have exploded from that laugh alone. But I looked into him a little bit too, and I don't have enough knowledge to actually be able to talk about musical theater, but I will say, Andy Fickman, you did good.
He's got a history. Yeah.
Yeah. And how much he disappeared into that role, because he was the same guy who played Uncle Sam at the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and when he was Uncle Sam, he was a handsome ass dude. So it was like, good job, man. Right here, like, this is where we got started with Anna Gasteyer.
Yeah.
Wow, her voice. What else do we know Anna Gasteyer from? Because Jesus.
And that's the thing is, like, I knew who she was before I saw this movie. I knew I had seen her in other things. I recognized her, but once I saw this, I forgot everything she'd ever done before. I don't know where I know Anna Gasteyer from. I know she's been around, like part of me wants to say that she was like on like a sketch comedy show, like Mad TV or something like that, but I don't think that's right.
Oh, I could buy her in Mad TV easily.
Yeah, but that's the
So
thing. I
easily.
knew but yeah, I knew her. With the first time I saw this, I was like, oh, it's her from such and such. But yeah, her performance in this was so amazing that it was like it's eclipsed anything else I ever know her from.
Well, I gotta say, her intro song into this, and when she is singing about, he beats me and all this, but oh, he gives me the stuff.
Right. Yep.
And then she
And
goes
when she
up
when she goes to the window,
the
and yeah,
window
that
and
that
like
goes like,
opens it up, and
he
when he
rapes me.
rapes me, it's like,
Yeah.
and then everybody and then drops the bottle of milk,
the
and
milk,
everybody
the
look, and then
milkman
she's just
drops
like,
the milk, and she's nah, golden comedy. You don't see comedy like that nowadays.
no, I mean, but there were some things that happened in this movie that I don't know how they got away with back then. I'm not gonna be able to hold this
Broadway,
in.
man,
The
Broadway.
Brownie song.
Oh yes, yeah. That's a classic.
Yes, but damn, that was like we were watching that and we just kind of looked at each other and went,
You makes you want a brownie. I've never even really been that much into pot. I've never been a smoker. I don't even do the edibles.
I'm not
much,
even
but every-
talking about the. I'm not talking about the weed.
Yeah. Oh, just
I'm
having a good brownie. Is everything.
No, I'm talking about the only black character in this entire movie was the brownie.
That's not true. That's not true. There is one other black character, the jazz player.
I forgot about him, but I thought you were going to reference something else. And it's the end of the movie when they're talking about black people being like scary and all this stuff, and they're walking down the road with torches, and there's this black family that comes up. There's mother, father, and 2 kids, and they see all these white people with torches, and then they just get scared as shit and run away.
Yep, yeah.
Those are the only 3 examples of black people in this movie.
Yep. Which is a very much a throwback to the actual
God
Reefer Madness movie.
damn!
Yeah.
That was... Like I said, I understood it because it was doing a parody on all of this stuff. But they still did it.
Yeah. I found it. I was right. She was a Saturday Night Live regular. 121 episodes of Saturday Night Live. That's where we saw her before.
Okay.
So she was she was a solid presence on Saturday Night Live.
Through the 90s.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So I knew it was some sort of sketch comedy thing. Yeah.
She goofy. She goofy and she's real funny. So that makes a lot of sense.
Now it just hit me. I remembered the whole time when the whole like Clinton impeachment thing going on. She was the one who played Linda Tripp in all of the Saturday Night Live sketches.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch those.
Yeah.
Going back to the classroom with all of the parents and all of that, and you have Mr. Kaczynski, and he just voices up. And
I remember that.
Yep.
That was such a great interaction. Like, my God.
It really was. It really was. And I'm there's a major thing I'm going to get to that. But like this whole Kaczynski.
What's your name, sir? Kaczynski.
Well, it's very brave of you and, very courageous to and I didn't catch this until the second
Russian?
time.
Polish.
I didn't catch it until the second time. But when he goes up to him, he's like, and why wouldn't, and it's very like, how honorable to your comrades to question all of this stuff. And then like he says this, it's like, and why wouldn't we question you? I mean, that would just be downright unpatriotic. And then walks away, and I'm like, oh, damn. Oh, Alan, you did good. Yeah. That was a good drop, and just how well that happened. I thought the diner scene was I thought that was satire on legalized cocaine.
The diner scene.
Miss Poppy.
The whole dancing thing. Oh,
yeah, we're dancing.
Yeah.
We're gonna get a shake. We're just never gonna stop dancing. We're dancing. We're dancing. We're never gonna stop dancing. We're doing all this. Her name is Miss Poppy. I thought it was because cocaine was legal back then.
Yeah,
so I thought it was a spoof on
Were they still serving, like, could you still get, like, Coca-Cola with cocaine in it back then? I don't
In the
remember when they
30s, yeah.
stopped. Okay. I wasn't aware of when they stopped doing that. So, yeah, I guess that does kind of make sense.
So,
They could have been a little more obvious about it, though, because I didn't know my history.
well, I figured naming the character Miss Poppy was the thing that made it obvious. At least that's what brought me to it.
Oh. Yeah, no, I never caught that.
Oh. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just assigning something that's not there.
Plus, it's to my knowledge, poppies are what make heroin, not cocaine.
You're right. It's cocoa.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I'm all the way wrong then.
But now that you pointed it out, now I'm not so sure. Maybe they were trying to say both, you know, pointing out how much was legal and in wide use, but it was marijuana that they chose to go after because of.
Because heroin was illegal back then, but coke wasn't.
Yeah.
Because Kaczynski was like, you know, my wife's cousin, you know, was struggling with heroin. That's some bad stuff. And then Alan comes in, he's like, and if only, like, and she was on there, it's like, if only it was something as harmless as heroin.
Exactly.
I was like, holy shit, Jesus Christ. Jack luring Jimmy into the drug.
Where did you matriculate?
Dude, right? And the way he did it, I was like, matriculate.
It means
where did you go to college? Like the way he just completely breaks every bit of character and everything, and then just, it means where did you go to college? Like that might be my favorite moment of the whole movie.
The Mr. Kaczynski scene is just unbelievable gold. Every second of it. There's so many golden moments in this movie, but that's probably the most protracted single bit of gold.
I don't know. We got stuff to cover. Alan Cumming discussing the how jazz works. Marijuana and jazz. Marijuana, it slows down. In the music of jazz, it slows time so it can hypnotize white women.
Yeah.
I lost my fucking shit on that one, man. Oh my god. Wow. This movie. It's kind of hard to actually talk about this movie because
what's so crazy is that
watch it.
Yeah, well, and what's so crazy about it is how much of these things that these insane shit that especially Alan Cumming's character, the insane shit that he's saying, is stuff that actually was in print. These were actual
you
like,
don't need
op-eds
to
and books.
even imagine it that far. Look what's like. Okay, I'm gonna cut this section out of the show. So if you're watching live, there you go.
You about to get political, huh?
Well, I'm just gonna drop one little thing.
All right. Yeah.
Everything that they're talking about with the weed and all of this stuff, switch the word to trans.
Yes, exactly. We're dealing with moms for fucking liberty here. That's what I was gonna say. This whole goddamn thing is the fucking Moms for Liberty playbook. Yes.
I'm gonna cut that.
You got it. I'm so proud of you.
It was yep. It was rough, man. It was rough. I was like, oh my god, man. It's hard to laugh at this as much as I want to really laugh at this because it's still happening.
It's so current still, yes.
It really, and that's really the brilliance of this musical, of this play, of the reimagining of Reefer Madness. It was great.
Yeah.
Oh, this was me discovering Amy Spanger. She played Sally.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, same for me. Yeah, I don't even know if I've seen her anywhere since because she stayed on Broadway for the most part, didn't she?
Yes, I looked into that and she made some appearances, but not in things that I would have known her of. And my God, incredible singer, so damn funny. For a good chunk of the movie, I had to look it up because I couldn't tell. I thought that was Anna Faris.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, you know what? I could see that. Yeah.
I thought that was Anna Faris, and I was about, and just my love of Anna Faris just kept climbing until I found out it was somebody else, and then I just fell in love with a new person. That the baby. She goes in and it's like, I gotta take care of the baby, and the whole hold your water, like they just made her so dumb, so stupid, so entertaining. Goes and takes the bassinet and like lights the joint on the stove and then puts the bassinet on the fire, and then like comes in, it's like, oh, the baby's okay, it's all good. Like, oh my god. And then this was when she puts her hand down on the stove and it burns the stove, and she's like and like tries to be like all seductive and shit. Oh my god, Amy Spanger, how have I never known of this woman? I need to see more musicals, man. This is not okay.
Well, I think the main problem is that we don't live in New York. That's where it's like, if she's a Broadway, that's a
good point.
We're constantly missing out on how much amazing talent there is on Broadway. Like, I've commented how Hollywood has some serious problem with women who are both hot and funny at the same time. They are out there, you can find them, but they don't. Hollywood doesn't like it. If you've got a funny hot woman, they sometimes gotta ugly them up a little bit to make them okay for them to be funny. Broadway, no problem. The place is up to here with them, you know.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. Suck It Down for Sally was a good song. The delivery and how they sang these songs, they were all so good. But I mean, you have Broadway, all of these are Broadway caliber actors and like that, so there's nothing that it is going to happen that is going to be performed poorly, because these are the best. Yep. Or this is the best echelon.
Yeah.
Like, they may not be the best of them, but that is where you get the best from. And come on, Jimmy, suck it down for Sally. Dude, I could actually have that as a phone, like a ringtone. That got me. I don't know why that got me so much, but that got me. The representation of somebody taking their first hit. Oh my god.
Christian the way his Campbell, face changes yeah.
Oh my god. The decision to do that, amazing. So damn funny. And also his fucking face. Everything he did was hilarious. I gotta give Christian Campbell a whole lot of credit.
I would say I wonder how many takes it took to get that, except the dude was practicing it on Broadway for who knows how many years, so he probably did that in one take.
He's done hundreds of these, he said. Yeah. The tweaking montage as he takes his hit and then he goes through, and then you have like that and
then he goes on a bender-ish.
Yeah, and like that Little Shop of Horrors moment where the clams are singing to him from his dinner plate. Yeah. And then he gets into the shower with his mom and he has the bar of soap and he's like,
yeah. And then he decides to go ahead and do it. Yeah. It's like, oops, God. I accidentally got in the shower with this old lady, but I'm going to stay.
Yeah.
Because that's what marijuana does to you.
And then seeing Alan, like the whole dance scene where they're like trying to get him naked and they're trying to get him to do all this stuff and talking about the time dilation of a year could take a day could feel like a year. But then when Alan Cumming comes down dressed like the devil, it took me a long time to register that was Alan Cumming. That
whole musical number, that cabana, like Dance with the Devil whole bit was astounding.
It was. I mean, the single greatest moment of that dance, of that whole number, though, was when Jimmy was standing in front of the giant bong. He's like, and then he hears the devil and he's like, Christian Campbell is great.
Yes, he is. Yep.
This is only the second thing I've ever really paid attention to him in, and man, he's great. I want to see him in more. I want to go check out some of the things that he was in. When Mary meets new Jimmy, and like she finds him in that shed, and he's sitting there puffing on the pipe, and then he like hops over the couch, and then he goes and he chugs down the bong water, like. The sheer insanity of this, literally, like I'm having a hard time figuring out what I can and can't talk about, because I don't even know if I can talk about these things because I'm not educated in this stuff.
Well, and I love the way Kristen Bell too, the way she's playing Mary the whole time. He's basically running around the room like a badly trained monkey, and she's trying desperately to act like this is all just normal. This is my Jimmy. I love him so much.
And then
he's
she
having
even
a
does
bad day.
Well, maybe it's me. And then she's like, you haven't even tried to kiss me in a week. And then Jimmy is like, oh, you want to kiss, huh? I got some new moves for you. Like, how insane and like how committed he was to just going ape shit and just being an absolute nut. I got so much praise for you, Christian Campbell.
It almost to a certain degree, because we do know, like I said, this is all based off of the actual Reefer Madness movie, which I have never seen, but part of me is curious to see it, just to see how much they drew directly from it. Like
how much you told me you love this, you never went to go check the source material. I am very surprised,
because I know what the source material is. Do I really want to sit there and watch this same audacity but seriously for an hour? Do I think I want to put that's an hour of my life I'm never going to get back?
No, that's an hour of your life you get to thoroughly enjoy. That scene where Andy Fickman and Amy Spanger are on the piano and he's like, faster, Sally, faster. That is directly from the movie.
Okay, I figured as much. Yes.
And it is really the reason that it makes it funnier because they're trying to be serious. The fact that they're being serious is what makes it so over the top hilarious. So make a choice. Right. But I tell you this one, I don't think it's a waste of time.
Okay, I will,
because I did go and watch it after watching this.
Okay, I will take it into consideration then.
Mary in church. How innocent they actually put her off. Yes.
So I did. I remember.
My pew.
Yep. So remember how I told you when we were first talking about this, how I asked if your wife had like been to Catholic school or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that was like, I had seen this movie maybe 2 or 3 times already, and then I decided to show it to this girl I was dating who had gone to Catholic school. And she was the first one who I had watched this movie with, that absolutely lost her shit at that scene. Like and everyone I watched it with, we all thought that was funny. We were like, this is a funny freaking song. But then when I watched it with someone who went to Catholic school, she fell on the fucking floor laughing so hard.
Well, so did I, though. But the thing that made me laugh, the thing that killed me, is when she was like, and I committed a mortal sin. A woman asked me if the seat was taken, and I said yes. That was the moment that just like shattered me, because that hardcore, you can't do literally anything wrong, and then saying that the seat is taken is a mortal sin and you're going to hell. That was it for me. That was it. That was where the scene completely won me over. That and all of the scheduled hymns being 420.
I think I missed that one. All the times that I've seen the movie, I never caught the 420 reference there.
Every single hymn. It's like 7 layers of just 420 over and over again. See, that was the takeaway montage. And the robbery of the church, which the robbery doesn't really do much except lead into Tom Jones Jesus.
Right. Tom Jones Jesus. My God. If you have not seen this movie, you have been robbed
But that is the character that Robert Tordy plays.
Yeah, the lack of Tom Jones Jesus in your life, if you haven't seen this movie, is a crime.
I wasn't ready for it, and it completely came out of left field, and it worked so well. Oh God!
Again, I like the girl I mentioned who went to Catholic school. That scene nearly killed her.
Oh yeah. Oh, I can imagine. Who was the singer who played Joan of Arc? Because she was incredibly wonderful.
Oh,
I meant to look her up.
I remember looking that up years ago, and I don't remember who it was.
Oh my God, she was so amazing, so the second time I watched it, I was so excited to see her again because when she came in, her voice, her look, her charm, everything about her was just
the French accent.
Yes, which I thought that was like Lady Liberty at the end. But no, that's Amy.
But no, that was Sally. Yeah.
Yeah. Which the reason why I thought it was going to be that French lady is because the first time Kelly and I watched it, I was like, oh, that's clever because it was a gift from the French. Nice. Right. And then, no, I'm just a complete dumbass.
But it would have made more sense. They should have thought of that. We should have been there for that one.
Yeah, should have been in that meeting, right? Yep. Yeah, no, yeah, I could not have offered one thing that would have actually made this. So the writers of this, they decided to do this because they were just talking about Reefer Madness when they left New York and they were driving to L.A. By the time they got to L.A., they wrote the opening song. Like, this was just a spur of the moment, like, we just thought of this, let's do it.
I could not think of a better origin story. That's how shit like this is supposed to happen.
Yes. Oh my God, in that moment when they come back to the drug den and oh God, what was Anna Gasteyer's character's name?
Oh, now I'm drawing a blank.
I just got so caught up in like the research of Anna Gasteyer and I wanted to remember her name. I completely missed her character's name. When she asked Sally, how come I haven't heard your baby? And Sally just gets up, I don't know. And like, so I was like, oh, no. I was like, that bitch, that baby? What? And then Alan Cumming comes in and is like, and everybody knows that the depraved drug mind will sell anything to get their fix. And I was like, and then it showed the old Asian dude and talking about eating babies, and I was like,
right, yeah. He's like, you guys don't really eat babies, right? And he's all,
and then he has the chopsticks towards the baby. I was like, what the fuck is this? I was like,
good old fashioned 30s racism, my friend. That's
they pulled no punches on the on the accuracy of that. Like, damn. Wow. Mary. Oh. Mary Lane, oh Mary Lane. That. Okay, so that song first, I loved it. Like it gave me the warm and fuzzies. Like, it was a wild ride and all that. So here was the false ending of the movie. And what was the Into the Woods? Is that what it was called? They did the same thing. Like, if you end the movie like 35 minutes before the actual ending, you get to sit with a really beautiful, heartwarming type story.
I think I've heard that before. I've never seen Into the Woods, but I think I have heard that. Yes.
Okay. And so this was like that. If you end the movie at the Mary Jane to Mary Lane song, he flips it and he chooses the girl and all of this, but you have to end the movie there for the feel good. Because it doesn't.
And it all goes downhill fast.
It really does. And he can't get his ring off his finger. She's like, oh, do you have chubby fingers? A moment on the lips, forever on the hips, Jimmy. Like, Kristen Bell in this was just so damn delightful. Okay. The Brownie song.
The Brownie song. Well, let's talk about the presentation too. Like it's not just the Brownie song, but it's also like Jimmy is ready to call. He's like, yes. I'm not taking your weed anymore.
The way he said it too, the expression that he used, he's like, "You're talking on a dead phone." I was like,
yeah,
that's a good expression. I like that.
And then you got Steven Weber there doing his gang. He's like, "Oh, you're out, huh? You're gonna leave, huh?" Reaches and goes, "I guess there's only one thing left to do." And he's like, and he goes,
Do
"Would
you
you
want
like
a
a
brownie?
brownie?"
And he's just so friendly, so nice, so charming. Just like, "Oh, you're out, are you?" You're like, "Would you like a brownie?"
Yeah.
So every performance in this.
Steven Weber is not
perfect.
appreciated enough. Let me tell you.
I will admit that because I loved him in Wings. He was my because I want to see more of Steven Weber after watching Wings, after knowing about Wings, and after watching this, I did not give him the credit that he deserved throughout his career. Like, damn, he is very good. Okay, but I do have to talk about this Brownie song.
Okay, all right.
So
The animated.
the
weird...
representation of the Brownie was a voluptuous black woman. And there is no ifs, ands, or buts about the fact that was a black woman or a woman. Jimmy straight up went behind a curtain and
he fucked the brownie. Yeah.
Yes.
No.
He brought it home.
This was an animated, totally
Then
out of left field.
They finished that song.
The music didn't even fit in with the rest of the musical. It was like an entirely different idea of music. But it was like a weird music video just sort of stuck in there.
Weird animated music video that was right in the middle of Reefer Madness, and it ended on like a gangbang of the Brownie.
Right.
I need to see this on stage, man. Like, it's fucked up, but I need to see this on stage. I need to see how the fuck they represent that.
That song may not be on the stage production. That happens sometimes.
Some aren't. So, Jimmy, the character of Jimmy in Reefer Madness, is actually on stage is split up into two characters. But the reason that changed is because Neve Campbell's character had a little bit of a romance with the Jimmy character. But because they're brother and sister, they nixed it for the movie.
So there's a lot of differences between the movie and the play.
There's a huge reason to go see the play.
We gotta see the play.
Like you can't just watch. You can watch the movie and get the message, but you just don't get what you would get on Broadway. Like you just don't.
But that has always been true, of course.
Yes, I know that there are some shows that come here. There are some shows that go there. Wait, where are you? Where are you now?
I'm currently in the wilds of Idaho. But
yeah, there's no operas or Broadway or shows.
But I still consider myself in Portland for the most part.
That's only a 5-hour drive.
Yeah, ish.
Yeah, that's basically still being there. Yeah. When they cut back to away from the Brownie song and they cut to Jimmy just ferociously humping Amy Spanger's leg, like. Do you mind if you move it somewhere else? I need the room. She's like, I don't mind if we move anywhere. Like, Amy Spanger, I wish I had enough to say. Like, I don't feel like I have the vocabulary to properly sing the praises of that woman.
Yeah.
There is a reason that she is the frontmost character on this poster.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Like, Jesus. Mary Lane becomes Mary Jane.
This song haunts me in my sleep.
I see it.
It gets caught in my head. I will be doing dishes and all of a sudden catch myself humming this song. This song is a dream and a nightmare all wrapped in one. It's catchy. It's witty. The lyrics are great. Kristen Bell is a goddess in every second of it.
So Kristen Bell in this scene, she was very uncomfortable with the outfit that she was wearing, and she kept bringing up concerns about it. And in response, the director, Andy Fickman, just turned around and went, Kristen, I'm wearing assless chaps and a thong. Which, somewhat good point, but your comfort ain't their comfort. Like, that's something that,
Yeah.
Like,
it's not really the correct way to approach that. Yeah. Wait.
It really isn't. Like, that is a really
Fickman
bad
directed
example.
this as well?
He did.
Oh, that I did not know that. Okay.
Yes, I was very surprised. Well, actually, no, I wasn't surprised because I actually had a feeling that he directed it because his character was so over the top and crazy and insane and everything like that that 90% of the time when you have a character like that, the director is fed the fuck up with the actor who is reining it in and not letting it go crazy, and that actor gets fired, and that's the role the director takes.
Okay.
That happens all the time, so I was suspicious about that.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, I got to say, though, to a certain degree, and I'm trying to picture in my mind here, remembering that outfit that she was in for that scene. I mean, was it when she says uncomfortable, did she mean physically uncomfortable or uncomfortable with how revealing it was?
Oh, how revealing it was, because it wasn't that revealing.
No, I mean, forgetting Sarah Marshall. The bikini that she wears in half the movie was more revealing than that outfit.
Yeah.
So I guess
I did think about that. So I had some thoughts on that, but it basically where I ended up with that was I don't know.
Yeah.
That was just something like I read that and I did think it was funny that Fickman's response would be, "Dude, I'm in assless chaps, like, and we're on stage, like." So there's that I do get, but what I wanted to bring up about that song and that performance, the singing great, lyrics were great, music was great, the editing might be some of the best I've ever seen.
Yep.
The positions
constantly cutting through from the drug den to the fantasy world, and their choreography so on point that it's a nearly seamless edit in every one of them. Yeah, no, amazing.
That was like I was completely blown away by that. I wanted to watch that over and over and over and over again, and not for the same reason that teenage Bradley would have wanted to watch it over and over and over again. Mary gets shot. That was a good scene.
Yeah, a bummer.
Yeah. Then the arrest. Now, here's what I thought was very, very funny about this. So they're like, weed or marijuana, it makes you crazy, it makes you a cannibal, it makes you stupid, it makes all this.
Yeah.
But the dude who was smoking the most weed during the whole film was conniving, smart, methodical, played the police, did everything. He was the smartest character in the entire movie, and he was supposed to be, marijuana's like makes you stupid, but he's the most capable, and he punks the cops, he punks the politicians, he punks literally everybody. So in this movie where they're trying to represent that drugs are bad, they basically said that marijuana is the limitless pill.
Right, yes, exactly. Turns you into a supervillain.
Yeah, because they even said Anna Gasteyer, when she going up against the Secret Service agent, Alan Cumming comes in and he goes, "Now everybody knows that when you smoke marijuana, it gives you like strength to do like normal things,
preternatural strength." Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And he's like, "But unfortunately for her, she quit smoking." It's like, wait a minute, whoa, hold on, time out. So the message of this moment of the film is she should have stayed high?
Yeah.
Okay. But when
let's go back to a really great visual gag when she finds out that the president is coming to town, and they show the scene of her holding up newspaper that says wait.
Yes.
Because you already skipped over that part.
I know. I jammed past that. I know. But the arrest, and they take Jimmy, and then they call him Jimmy, the cannabis killer. And then Fickman is like hallucinating. Jimmy is everywhere, and that dance number kicks off.
Oh, all the zombies. The zombies come back.
And the zombies come back. My literal one critique, the one thing that I wish could have been different about this, is when Jimmy is like, "You killed me," and then Fink's like, "I killed it. Like, I killed you. You killed me. I killed you. I killed him." Like, he looks at him, like he's like, "Cause like, I killed you," and then he said, "I killed him," and I used to look at him. I would have found it way funnier is if the moment would have been, "I killed you. You killed me. I killed you," and then and then Finkman would have looked somewhere else and be like, "I killed him." That is my literal only thing I would have changed is when they refer to him and them, they're still looking at them instead of panicking off into the ether. That is the only thing I would have changed.
Okay.
And that is just... I needed to find a nitpicky thing for this because I didn't have one. And that was it. So that's my nitpicky bitchy Brad thing. But when Jimmy is in that like giant oversized toilet set and Fickman screams out to Spanger, he's like, Jerry, he's in the toilet. And then she's like, well, then flush him. That was the moment I really, really wanted to get to. And then when they disappear to go get food because Fickman is like becoming cannibalistic and then eats Spanger, like that whole thing.
And Weber comes in. He's got the bag of takeout food, and he's just like, hey, who's hungry? And the guy's freaking what's his? I can't remember the character's name. Fickman's character's name.
Jack,
yeah. Jack's just sitting there gnawing on Sally's bones, like,
no,
food?
Fickman's character.
Oh yeah, Jack is Weber's character. Yes.
Weber's character, yeah. College boy.
Ralph. His name's Ralph.
I believe you.
Yeah.
I don't think I can't even remember that.
Ralph eats Sally. He's just sitting there gnawing on her bones when Jack comes in with the takeout food, and he's like, "Who's hungry?" And he's like, "Oh!" and tosses her bones aside.
Yes, and then so after Anna takes out takes out Jack or Weber, and then she like comes up from behind the couch holding his pulsing heart up in the air, and then she sees the paper.
How great was that song too? Like the reprise of the stuff. Like, oh my god, this is it, Jack.
That was so good. Anna Gasteyer.
Great.
I have a note here that says Anna Gasteyer was a damn joy. I literally have that written down right here. So good. Now I have a little, just a little question for you, Doc.
Okay.
Do you watch movies that don't have execution scenes?
Sorry, hold on a second. I just accidentally unplugged my headphones. Okay, I'm back. The answer is yes, plenty. But I had to think about it. I need to take a moment to be like, hold on, let me step off screen while I consider my answer. Yes, I've seen lots of movies that don't involve capital punishment.
Not that you've shown me yet.
And next we're going to do The Life of David Gale. That's the next.
Because the only movie that you've recommended so far that doesn't have an execution scene, the entire movie is based off an execution scene. The Paper.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But that, and the final number where all the cast members come back, some of them are in different costumes. Like I said, you got Fickman dressed as Uncle Sam and just comes in, he's like, I want you to put down that joint. Like, everything about this movie was a damn joy, so much fun, a complete and utter delight, and I'm gonna put this on the haven't you seen this list, because that is a must-see.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, it doesn't matter if you see it just one time. That is, you cannot watch that and not have a damn good time. Mm-hmm. Like that, so that's where I'm at with that. And
an awakening here and there too, like you know, like I mentioned before about how prescient this is still today, because these insidious methods of demonization are still in play, and it's kind of weird how like it has to be satirized to this level to make it obvious. But like once it's made obvious, you kind of go, Jesus Christ, this really is This is a step-by-step playbook right here, and it's been used over and over again. And no matter how many times we get wise to it, it keeps working for some weird reason.
It's really, it's crazy to me because over the past few years, I have been seeing so many blatant lies and just complete things. And I'm just like, how is there anybody that is believing this? Like, it's very, like, you can see that that's not true. And yet there are millions and millions of people who do believe it.
Yeah.
And I cannot figure out why. Here, I finally get to my point. William Randolph Hearst.
William fucking Randolph Hearst.
So William Randolph Hearst went on a yellow paper journalism campaign about the effects of marijuana and all this, because he owned like the newspaper, like he had a bunch of newspapers, a bunch of publications. He also was heavily invested in the lumber industry, and when they were figuring out that cannabis was able to replace this and that and this, his money was like, they were coming for his money, and so he started this heavy campaign against marijuana. And William Randolph Hearst was also a very well-known racist. So he assigned this to the Mexicans. He assigned this to black people. He assigned this pure across the board and made it racist as hell. And the absolute most tragic part about that is I've heard his talking points come out of people in my generation.
Oh, yeah.
Like, none of this is true. He made all of this shit up. And sidebar to my sidebar, do you know what yellow journalism was? I thought it was something racist when I first read it.
I don't think I'd heard that name before, no.
So it's either yellow journalism or yellow page journalism. It was like exclusively William Randolph Hearst, and the chemicals that they used on their paper aged the paper prematurely. So it looked like you were reading really old things that, like, wow, these stood the test of time, but the shit was like a week old.
Huh, interesting.
So, I didn't know what yellow page journalism was until today.
I had never heard that before, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. But to know that when you look at how many millions of people have been incarcerated basically because of William Randolph Hearst.
Yeah.
What a fuck.
Well, you want an interesting thing. So you've heard of the movie Citizen Kane, right?
Based off him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Orson Welles literally trying to do a takedown of this guy by doing an unofficial, unauthorized biography movie of him.
Crazy. Which I need to go watch Citizen Kane because I tried to watch that when I was like 9 years old.
Oh, that's too young. You're gonna be bored out of your fucking mind at that age. Are you kidding me?
Well, you know, even when I was a kid, I was really into like I told you, I grew up on like Nick at Night. I was into older stuff, everything like that.
Fair,
like
that's fair.
I thought this was my kind of jam. The original Psycho is one of my all-time favorite movies.
Okay. Yeah, that is...
You have to understand why.
No, I absolutely do. 100%. Yep.
Anthony Perkins having literally nothing to base his character off of and still doing that? If I had a hat. Damn. Wow. But... everything that I learned about Reefer Madness and a little bit about the times, all that. And, Doc, it is really hard to find trivia and information about this.
It was a oddly clandestine thing. That's the thing, because like when it comes to stuff like this, with stuff that old, we are dependent on the reporting and the journalism and the documentation of that day to be able to go back and read newspapers and op-eds and books that were written about this that examined it. And the problem is that when it comes to this specific subject, William fucking Randolph Hearst dominated that entire industry, so the narrative was written the way he fucking wanted it to be written. And so we don't know what to trust on this.
Dude, like somebody who was just really, really well known, even at that time, for like, if you're known for being a racist in the 30s, what the fuck were you like, man? Because everybody was racist back then. So if you were known as being racist,
right,
What the hell was this guy?
If your average 1930s Joe was looking at you and going, "Damn, you're racist." Like, that's something.
Yeah,
that is
man.
something.
Whoa. Okay. All right. Those are my thoughts on Reefer Madness. Did you have anything that you wanted to say to conclude the first section?
I think I kind of peppered it in throughout. Is that it's entertaining, it's prescient today, and if you went to Catholic school, you will find it even funnier than the rest of us did, apparently.
All right, I do want to sing a little bit of praises.
Oh, and if you haven't seen it, you have been robbed of Tom Jones Jesus.
Tom Jones Jesus
is all the reason you need. That's all the reason you need to see it. If you haven't seen it, you are losing out on that moment of your life.
All right, you know what? I'm gonna toss in just because I found this trivia, but I still didn't know what to do with it, and I didn't think I was gonna bring it up. But fuck it, I'm gonna bring it up.
All right.
When Alan Cumming was dressed as the devil and he had his nipples pierced and the chain going between,
was that really him?
That was really him, but apparently Alan Cumming only has one nipple pierced, so the chain that was going through was added with a prosthetic.
Okay.
Why that trivia was one of the only things that I could find on this, I don't fucking know.
Because Alan Cummings wanted you to know.
All right, next up, we're moving on to Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World, starring Russel Crowe and Paul Bettany, also starring James D'Arcy, Chris Larkin, Max Pirkis, Max Bennetts, Mark Lewis Jones, Lee Ingleby, Joseph Morgan, John DeSantis, Billy Boyd, and Robert Pugh. Did you notice Billy Boyd?
No, I don't think I did. Who was he in this?
One of the ship dudes. Yeah.
Okay.
But
I did find it amusing that there were two Jarvises in this movie.
There you go. Okay. I thought that was really cool that James D'Arcy wound up doing an impersonation of Paul Bettany after they were in a movie together. I thought that was really cool too. I did. The novel is by Patrick O'Brien, and I believe there are 8 books, and this is a combination of 2.
Okay, I got different information when I looked it up. I got 20 books, and that this is a combination of 3 of them.
Whoa. Okay.
That's what I found. But I did this was mostly, I did a very tertiary check because it mainly was the title, like Master and Commander, Far Side of the World. I was like, what a weird fucking title. Like, that sounds like it's part of a series.
But that is 2 different books. Like, Far Side of the World and Master and Commander are 2 different books.
That's the thing. It's basically Master and Commander was the first book, and so that's the sort of unofficial title of the series.
Oh,
and then the main, like, they combined 3 different books for this, but the main story is from like the 10th book that's called Far Side of the World, and so that's what this is. This is the Master and Commander series episode Far Side of the World.
Oh, okay. All right.
And then there's actually 20 and a half books. Apparently the author died while writing book number 21.
I found some interesting trivia about the writer. Apparently, Patrick O'Brien can't sail or couldn't sail for shit. Knew everything about it, but there was a big fan of his books that took him out sailing, and apparently Patrick O'Brien almost killed the guy because when he swung the bow, it actually came across and it almost took out the fan. And the fan was look, love the guy's work, everything like that, but the guy can't sail for shit.
That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing.
Screenplay by Peter Weir and John Collee, directed by Peter Weir. And other things that Peter Weir has directed was Dead Poets Society and The Truman Show.
Yep. Truman Show, I could see it. I mean, yeah, I could see it. I'm not surprised. That doesn't shock me at all.
No, it really doesn't.
These were all top of the line movies.
All right, Doc, lead us in.
Okay, here's the thing. My impression of this film. I totally get why it won the Oscars. I totally get why it was as popular as it was when it came out. I totally get why Russel Crowe fans can't stop talking about it, because it is a great performance by him.
Mm-hmm.
This was just not my kind of movie. I remembered watching it why I didn't bother seeing it when it was in theaters, because I am not a boat movie guy. I am not a war movie guy. And that's what this is. This is a really good boat movie, war movie.
I thought
But
the
you,
storytelling and the filmmaking was going to get you in on it.
well, and they were interesting, and I can get into that in a second about how I kind of like was able to take a second look at this, and I'll get into that in a minute. Um, but yeah, it's like this movie kind of had all of my anxieties in one to a certain degree. Like sailing, I get it. On an evolutionary standpoint, I get why we have sailors in the world. Okay, we need people on land and we need people in the ocean. This is how we dominate the world as a human species. We need that diversity. Okay, I have
Mm-hmm.
nothing against boat people. They are as valuable as anybody else in the world, but I don't get them. I have never been able.
Sure.
I have cousins who were in the Navy, and we cannot hold a conversation with each other. Um, it's just not. I am a
You're not a
landlubber
water
to
guy.
the core. Yeah, I'm a landlubber to the core. Boat movies just stress me out, especially a boat movie where you add the added claustrophobia of like 200 guys all crammed in the boat. All
127 souls. Yep.
127 people crammed on that little boat. None of them have a bar of soap between them. They, there is.
Which Peter Weir cast 12 extras from Poland because they looked the part that they wanted to look, and they didn't have the amenities and the ease of Western culture. They actually still had the look that he wanted, so he cast extras directly out of Poland.
Sure, okay, and that
I thought
makes
that was
sense.
pretty
Yeah.
smart.
If you like boat movies, this is a great boat movie.
Oh yeah.
If you like war movies, this is a great war movie. If you like,
Where we talk a lot about trusting your audience,
mm-hmm. Oh this did that way.
if you are a
And
boat person, this is your movie.
this and to its credit too, it was definitely accessible. Like even as someone who isn't into these kinds of movies, there was no point where I'm sitting here going like, oh, this is a waste of my life. I don't regret watching this movie at
Oh,
all.
not at all.
Um, this was a
I'd watch the
it
whole
was
movie
good.
just to see the lesser of two weevils seen again.
Right? Yes. Ugh. If you
That
like
shit was
puns, if you like puns, this movie is for you. Um,
What was it? A
um,
man who would use a pun would pick up or God, yeah, no, this like
yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah. If you like movies that make you glad we invented things like soap, this is that kind of movie. Like, oh God, so much. I mean, I get he's supposed to be like the smart character, he's the naturalist, he's the intelligence
Oh, Bettany.
officer. Bettany, yeah, he's supposed to be like the ahead of his time smart guy, but man, he did a lot of surgery without ever washing his hands once. Like
But that's how they did it though. Like that's the thing.
I
Like
know, and I get that, but that's
yeah.
the thing is like these are just my anxieties. Like
Yes.
everything about this movie just made me anxious. Like, and did it ruin it for me? No, it did not. This is a
No, see the
technically
thing is like all of those anxieties is what made the movie better for me.
okay.
Like the discomfort of everybody's hovering over while he was doing the brain surgery and just
Hmm.
all the breath and the sea water and the salt and everything that was going around there. I'm like, well, this dude is dead. But
But yeah, oh, and
probably most of them died, but I'm
brain
sure
the
some of
brain
them did.
surgery out in the open where they're using a coin that they dug out of someone's pocket to close a hole in his skull. Like, okay, yeah, that's some hardcore shit. I respected that. That was some good filmmaking featuring that all in there. But yeah, man. But what really got me here's where I kind of got on board with everything. And you did mention like the whole like storytelling side of it. When I was looking up when I was looking up, like the title, like finding out when I first discovered 20 some odd books. So apparently this series just focuses on Lucky Jack and Bettany. Like
Hmm.
those are the only two main characters of all the books. Nobody else has any plot armor. Everyone's life is on borrowed time in these books, except for these two guys. Um, and the one of the Wikipedia articles that I found referenced a review from an LA Times reviewer who compared the movie to an episode of Star Trek. And I was like, okay, I'm listening. And
One, yes, because apparently the original series was based off of this book series.
which makes sense. It was the concept behind Star Trek was very much taking nautical World War type style and just putting it in space, making it sci-fi.
Yeah.
And this reviewer basically mentioned, like, if you see like the whole like Napoleonic War on a boat, kind of thing, as not what the movie is about. That's just the setting and the backdrop of it. The movie is really about the friendship between these two guys and their dynamic. Then it's an entirely different kind of movie. And I was like, okay, I can get on board with that. In the same way that after a while, Star Trek is not just about the spaceship; it's about Kirk, Spock, and Bones and their dynamic. Same thing with this movie, and that was where I kind of went like, oh, okay, I can reframe this in my head and give it a second thought. And yes, in that regard, this is, yeah, you see that dynamic between Bettany and Jack, and how, Jack is very much Mr. Soldier, Mr. going for the glory, and Bettany is very much, he gets the glory part of it, he gets the whole thing, but he's also got that when they get to the Galapagos Islands, and he's like, fuck the war, we just discovered 2 new species in like 5 minutes, we got to stay here forever, and that dynamic between these two was definitely the real heart of this film, and I did appreciate that. And that probably is what made it. That probably is what made it. As someone who is not a boat/war movie guy, that definitely is what made it.
I'm guessing the cello and viola scenes were probably your favorite.
Oh, they were delightful, especially the parts where Russel Crowe's playing the violin like a ukulele. Like, I mean, come on, who could not love that?
Yes. So, okay, right at the beginning of this movie, when they're going through and they're showing the cannons,
which I meant to check, and I should have before I looked up, but when watching those scenes, I was watching his fingering. I think he's really playing it. I don't think those were pre-recorded. I think both of those
they
guys
are pre-recorded.
Literally...
Russel Crowe spent 3 months learning the violin for this movie. He said it's the single hardest thing that he's ever had to do for a movie, but they did have, like, that was not him actually playing. That wasn't the audio of him playing. He did all of the fingering, so it would actually be appropriate for the fingering, but he did not have the technical skills to actually make it sound that good.
So he lip synced it, basically. But
pretty much. However,
still pretty impressive.
Yes.
Still really impressive.
The opening cannons, you see Jumping Billy, you see Sudden Death, and then in the book, there is a third cannon that they show, and when you find out the name, you kind of understand why it wasn't in the movie. The third canon that they showed in the book was called Willful Murder.
I remember having a chuckle at that too, because I was thinking, like, because the first one was Jumping Billy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was the first one? Yeah. And then the next one after that is Sudden Death. And I remember sitting there going, like, whoever's in charge of Jumping Billy clearly are the brains of the operation. Because that's a name. That's a name that you give to a cannon. Sudden Death is not a name. That's just a thing that happens. Like, Sudden Death is looking over at Jumping Billy going, like, your guys are so much cooler than mine. They gave me a lame name that just describes what I do.
Which is also willful murder.
Right, exactly, yes. They should have left that in. They should have left willful murder in.
I think so too, as well. But I do understand why they took it out. The lack of confidence that Hallam has at the very beginning, you see and completely understand what happens to that character. Mm-hmm. He's looking through, he very clearly sees that ship. He knows he saw it, but he has so much self-doubt that he almost loses the entire ship because he was hesitating, because he had such little confidence. Which, the scene that comes in later while Russel Crowe is talking to him, Captain Jack Aubrey is talking to Hallam, you very much understand that, because, no, we'll get there. I liked as soon as they saw the ship, beat to stations.
Right.
The very first thing that happens.
Beat to quarters.
Thank you, yes. They clear the surgery table. They bring out all the tools and everything, and they have Paul Bettany's character sitting there ready to just who's gonna get hit first. Like he's just ready to go because that is like flat out straight up. You get into a battle, people are like there is no oh hey look nobody got hurt.
Right.
No, because when those cannons went off right at the beginning and those cannonballs hit that is what happens with shrapnel. You don't have a building blow up next to your face and then you get to go out and be Bruce Wayne that night. That's not what happens. Your shit is fucked. And that little kid who lost his arm, great. I mean, like, accurate.
Oh, yeah.
As
Speaking
hell.
of things that gave me anxiety, the fucking children on this boat.
Again, though, accurate because if I got this right, those were royal kids.
Yeah, that was my understanding. Is they were noble born, but they were like basically they weren't they weren't the firstborn of their family, so they weren't going to get the title. But so they are being sent off basically to be interns as officers.
Well, see, I didn't. Well, I could see that, but that's not where I saw that going. Where I saw that was like where my mind was in that these are the nobles. Like when you talk about like when I was like the noble, the king, all this when he was a kid, when he was a boy, when he was off, when he was a prince, and when he was off, when he was doing all these adventures. This is where all these kids are being groomed to be the epic leaders of the future.
Oh, okay.
Like they're starting young.
Like where they were in the family didn't matter. They had to do some of their service to get used to being in charge.
Yes.
Okay,
that's what I saw. And when you saw these kids were never kids.
No.
Not a single time. And there was that moment when the kid getting the arm cut off and he tells him, he's like, if I die, you know, I hear that they sew your nose up very final just in case. He's like, don't let them stitch my nose. And the other kid doesn't go, you're not going to die. He's like, okay.
Right,
Dude,
yeah, exactly. Even before that, when Captain Jack comes in and sees the kid after the battle, and then the doctor's just like, are you okay? You know, I know that his dad was a friend of yours. Are you handling okay? His kid getting blown up, and
his father would have understood.
Yeah, his Crowe's just like, oh no, he gets it. His dad gets it. His dad was a sailor too. They get it. It's his mom I'm worried about. Like that.
No, I get that. You notice that all the ones that were with the cannon, they all had "Hold Fast" tattooed on their fingers.
Yep. I saw that.
The first time I saw it, I thought it was just the one dude, but it was all of them. The opening battle, just how that went, how everything was going through. You saw the dials coming through, sand and oyster, a lot of these things, stuff that I do not know, but they did not take the time to tell the audience a damn thing. And I really don't think any audience member missed a single thing. There were things for people in the know to get, but the general audience would not have missed anything.
No, and that's true. And
that's why I say it's so important to trust your audience, because you can have 5 more minutes of movie instead of 5 minutes of treating your audience like they're idiots.
Right. Try to sit there and map it out. Yeah.
Yes, like that.
And as someone, like I said, I'm not a boat person, but there was no part of this movie that I couldn't follow. There was no part where I'm sitting here going like, maybe if I was a sailor, I'd understand what was going on. Nope, that didn't happen. Not for 1 second in this movie.
Peter Weir did a very good job. A very good job. Okay, so after I watched, because I didn't do my notes on the first watch, I did my notes on the second watch, and I misread something which painted my viewing of it the second time very hard, and it was wrong. So I read that Paul Bettany was the spy. But what I misread was in future books, Paul Bettany spies and he crosses over and he goes and spies on the French.
Right. Yes. When I had looked it up, I saw that among his duties to the army, he is an intelligence officer. But it was never implied that he was the spy that was betraying them. Yeah.
Kind of. Because they did play with it a little bit, because one of the very first things that Bettany says in the movie is he's referring to a spy, and he's saying like, the French have their spies and all that. Like we have our spies and all that.
Right.
The French have theirs as well, and it just lingers on him for a second, and I was like,
it is interesting. They dropped the idea of there being a traitor on the boat a couple of times, but never resolved it. Yeah.
But this was supposed to be a franchise,
right?
and the only reason it didn't was because of low box office numbers. Even though it won 2 Oscars and it was nominated for a bunch of others, and it lost to Lord of the Rings. Which, can you blame a fucking movie for losing to Lord of the Rings? So when Bettany was talking about, like, as do we, I even have it in my notes, as do we, says the spy. I had it, like, I read that wrong, and I saw a whole different movie, and it was not the movie I was supposed to be watching.
Wow, that is it. Well, so how did that play then? I'm curious to know. How did
Perfectly.
that play? Well, no, but that's what I asked, because like later on in the flick, when he's doing his whole Galapagos march, and
but what happens right before that? Jack gave up on pursuing the ship to go back to the Galapagos on a stable island and save his life. So
Yes.
I took that as when Paul Bettany saw that ship, he made the decision that he's actually going to line up with Jack Aubrey because of the sacrifice that Jack just made for him.
Oh, so you think he changed his mind?
Definitely not, because I read the whole note wrong. But that was the movie I watched the second time, and it was a better movie.
Right. But that's kind of I'm wondering, like, what your thinking was that first time when he sees the ship, and he not only turns around to go tell Jack, I found him, we can get him, but he's even dropped all of his precious specimens in order to get there in time. Like I'm wondering, on your first viewing, how did you square that behavior with the belief that he was a traitor?
Oh, because the other 2 people who were with him, witnesses, if they would be like, oh yeah, he held us back, that would have made it suspicious. But I read that as an intelligence officer, a spy, somebody who was smart enough to know, I can't do this without revealing something.
I see. Okay. So like he was
it worked, man. It worked really well, and it just was not part of the story. So, like I said, like it was weird that misreading something made this movie so much better to me, but this movie is amazing on its own. Like it didn't need that, but that was something that I really loved, and it made me wish that the franchise would have actually been successful, because to see that betrayal would have been absolutely amazing.
It certainly would have, like, again, saying this as someone who did not appreciate this movie at the level it was intended for. It is a shame that it didn't get the franchise. It definitely deserved it. It really was did. In every technical aspect for the audience it was intended for. This was a near perfect film, and should have gotten its sequels. It is really, really strange that it didn't.
It really is. The love that Captain Aubrey has for the ship and comparing himself with it, and then the very next scene where you have one of the shipmates working on the woodworking, he says, the captain says he's got so much blood in the woodwork of this ship that it's practically a relation.
That's a good line. Yeah, I like that.
That was a very good line. I really appreciated that. The kids talk. Oh wait, we already talked about that. We already talked about that. Jesus. The model of the Acheron, where the kid was getting married in Boston, and he saw that and he was able to do that.
Series of coincidences that one.
I'm gonna agree with you, but it worked.
It did weirdly work, and I think what made it work was Russel Crowe holding the model in his hand, and you can see on his face, holy shit, my lucky day.
Yeah, like, and he's like, and this is all to scale, this is all accurate, this is all of this. And then the dude who made it not being able to talk and just constantly relying on the dude next to him to relay all of the information to him, that was never explained. It was never said that he was dumb or nervous or anxious or any of this stuff. Again, just trusted. They skipped all of the explanations to tell the most story that they possibly could, and I love that. Oh, the other thing I did want to say, the thing about that actually made that make a little bit more sense to me, is at that time there were only like 100 American cities.
Okay, well that does kind of make sense. Yes.
So if you
America
were
is a
in one of
much
the
smaller
major
place.
ones for a wedding, and you're a sailor,
Okay, yeah, and there may be like two of those major cities that are actual ports for something
it's
like
kind
that.
of what I'm thinking.
Okay,
So
that is a fair point. Yes.
it is. Also, this movie takes place in 1805, but the book takes place in 1812. The reason that they pushed it 7 years is because the main enemy in the book was the United States. So they had to shift that a little bit, so Russell Crowe wasn't tracking down a bunch of us.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny.
I thought that was pretty good. Again, man, right after that scene, when they go and they reach and they have that trade moment, something that I thought was pretty interesting about this is the absolute intense, just massive lack of racism in this movie.
Yeah.
Like you had black people on there. I assumed they were slaves. Like just made sense for the point in time. But
Or maybe not. It was British. They could have.
1805 Britain.
Yeah. I mean, they probably were colonized to some degree, but they may not have. They may or may not have been actual
black people
slaves.
weren't free in the U.S. for 60 more years. So I don't know.
No, that's true.
I
mean,
I don't know.
I guess it depends. From my knowledge, nobody in the British Royal Navy were free at all. They basically were all conscripted by force.
I know nothing about that. The most that I know about the British Navy is that to wives and sweethearts, may they never meet, is the official Saturday toast of the British Navy. That is my knowledge of the British Navy.
Okay.
And I learned it from Master and Commander. Oh, okay. The cello and violin, the cello and violin scenes to me, like when I thought that Bettany was a spy, and I'm really like so much of this revolves around the fact that I was a dumbass and read something wrong. The way that they challenged each other, I looked at that as like the Magneto Xavier chess match. That was something because I read that, everything was painted with that.
Okay.
And I just saw a massive amount of brilliance and undertone in those scenes. But one of the things, like you see Paul Bettany stretching his fingers with cello on one of those. Apparently, that was in reference to in a future movie he gets all of his fingers broken, but when he is captured as a spy.
Huh. That's starting to make me wonder too. Like the way you're talking about how you misread that he was a spy and that colored everything. It's starting to make me wonder with how well that went together if that was
Weir?
intentional.
Like if he was changing that?
Well, not if he was changing it, but maybe Weir kind of wanted for folks who hadn't read the book to be suspicious of him, so that in future movies, maybe even adding to it in future movies, making him make there actually be suspicion thrown on him officially in future movies before he clears his own name or whatever, or catches the real spy.
It was landing with me completely. And so when they go into that trade scene and Bettany is speaking the language and he speaks the language of all the locals and all this, and I was like, spy! Because it just made perfect sense. And I was like, okay, he's relaying a message right now. Even Russell Crowe, Aubrey, he's asking, what is he saying? He doesn't know. So this could literally be Bettany talking spy to spy, and literally nobody knows. I was like, oh, this is brilliant. And it didn't happen. Right. But the flirty eyes that Russell Crowe makes with that woman, and then you see some stuff's about to go down. He's about captain's quarters.
Right.
But then you hear like the first mate or second mate or somebody is like, stop making eyes at those ladies. This is a royal lesson. We have honor. And then you just see him. He's like, oh, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, it was nice to meet you. And that whole explanation, that whole little character journey that he had in that moment, and again, not explained. Thank you, Peter Weir. I love you, and I didn't know how much I love you, even though I love The Truman Show, so I probably should have known.
Right.
The stories of Lord Nelson. So apparently, Lord Nelson is one of the characters that Jack Aubrey is based off of.
Okay.
So
I was wondering because the way they were talking about him, I was wondering if this was a historical figure that I should know about, because they
based
don't
off
seem,
of.
yeah, they don't seem to they seem to, without giving any exposition other than just talking about how everybody in that boat's in love with him for some reason, and I was like, this must be some like major historical hero that I just don't know.
I mean, we're American, dude. None of our heroes, like I don't know
like
many
that.
Americans. I just don't know many Americans who would have British sailors as their heroes.
No, that's a very good point. Yeah,
especially after 1776. Just putting that out there. I alluded to this earlier, but the mention of the pun with the lesser of two weevils. Yeah. Russell Crowe is sitting at this table, and they're talking about all of these things, and he sets Paul Bettany up to, like, if you had to choose between one, life or death, that you had to choose one.
It was interesting because he set it up like it was going to be a philosophical thing. I can't remember what they were talking about before, but they were talking about some moral conundrum or something like that about their heroes.
It was the Lord Nelson stories and the impact that it had on Jack Aubrey as a boy. And
right. And then and Bettany was kind of going like,
Bettany says then that he is the singular example of absolute power does not corrupt.
Right. And then Crowe responds with, "Oh, really?" Between these two, so you expect him to be making some sort of like major moral point here, and instead he hits him across the face with a pun.
No,
and
I'm
laughs
wrong. I'm
his
wrong.
ass off at him over it.
I'm wrong.
Like this was the greatest.
Lord Nelson.
He's been waiting years for this opportunity to tell this joke to Bettany. You could see it, and the payoff was worth it.
I'll agree with that. There was a lot of joy in that punchline. Yeah. But I'm wrong. The actual philosophical thing that happened before that was Lord Nelson had he said, "To hell with tactics. You just go right at them."
Oh, right. Yes. Yep.
So the lesser of two evils was, do you do all these tactics and do all this and then lose all your men, or you charge straight at it and then try to take it? So that was the lesser of two evils, which led into the lesser of two weevils.
Right. Yeah.
So I was wrong, and you were right, but we did miss it a little bit. The whole crew singing that song, like the Shipmate song and all this, and they were having fun and all this. And then Hollum steps in and starts singing with his pretty voice, like a super pretty voice. I can't.
Yeah, I was quite bewildered by that scene. I didn't get.
You didn't get it?
I didn't understand what their problem was with him.
Imagine. I want to use names, so I almost want to go like offline for a second just so I can tell you this story, but I'm not going to. All right. So imagine that you're drinking songs, having fun, all of this stuff, and the talent level is all just right around here. But then the person who is constantly showing off and talking about how cool they are, how good they are, how much better they are, all this stuff and everything like that, they come in and instead of being part of the party, they bring their own singing voice that doesn't actually come in with like the chorus of something, but it is so wildly off, but it is like super pretty and beautiful. And it's like, oh, so we're all just supposed to shut the fuck up and listen to you? Like, I get it. I don't know that I would have done it, but I do understand it because I'm the Hollum guy.
Okay.
I've been in the situation where I've tried to join in on stuff and I have completely killed the mood. So
okay.
I did understand it, but it was not for the same reason as him. It's not because I was so damn good or beautiful at something. It's because I'm fucking awkward. He was just really like when he started singing, it was so much different than the entire tone that every single other person was on.
Well,
it.
he didn't know any.
It was a verbal recognition that he was not part of the crew.
Right. Okay. And he didn't even know any better. He was doing the singing that he was trained to do as a child in the noble household. He didn't know that.
You nailed it. Rich dude, poor people. You don't bring your fucking rich kid stuff where your super chorus and your pampered butthole and all of this stuff. Yeah. You don't
look at this motherfucker projecting from the diaphragm. Who the hell does he think he is?
Yeah. We're fucking singing Garth Brooks here, man. That comes from the gut. You leave this crap out of it. That's down here. No, so I did understand that because that was the privileged, pretty boy, rich, like all this stuff, trying to mesh in with all the people that he definitely is not like. Now, Russell Crowe's character never had to do that because he was such a badass that they looked up to him.
Right.
They did not look up to Harlem. They did not have he didn't have their respect, and
he had barely done anything up to that point.
He was weak, and that is enough.
Yeah.
When you're in that type of situation, when you're in a battle type, and not just in a battle type situation, I live because you're good at your job. If you're not confident enough to actually point out when you saw a fucking ship and then that ship fires on you, and like the kid lost his arm because they didn't prepare fast enough. All of that was Harlem's fault.
Okay. Was that okay, hold on.
The very opening scene.
That was Harlem that was holding back. I thought that was the older kid. There's the kid who lost his arm, and then there was the older one that was there with him that was his friend. I thought it was that older kid that saw the ship.
Nope, it wasn't. No, it was Harlem that saw it, and then he told the kid, he's like, I'm not sure if I saw it. And the kid was like, you need to make a fucking call. The kid was a better leader than he was, and Harlem never made the decision, but instead the kid turned around and acted like Harlem made the decision. So the kid is what saved people's lives, not Harlem.
That comes together more neatly then. Okay, yeah.
The Acheron versus Aubrey. That line is like this. Like he comes after me like a man possessed. Did I kill one of his relatives? His son, God forbid.
Again, another thing that's never explained. Why? Yeah, because that is
that's
weird.
In the book. So in the book, Jack Aubrey makes a statement that says, when they got boarded, he thinks he killed the captain's son. Like they got attacked, or they were doing the attacking, and then while it was going down, Aubrey thinks that he killed that captain's child. Right. So that was kind of a throw to, or it was a throw to the series, I think. At least that's what they said. The explanation over the pirates versus the privateers. I thought that was really good. That was an explanation I didn't know, so I actually was very appreciative that they included that.
Yeah, same here. I have spent most of my life up to this point genuinely believing pirates and privateers were the same thing.
I basically thought that they were the same thing. I didn't know any different. Yeah. I thought it was just a fancy name for pirate.
Same, yeah.
And the explanations
the politically correct term for pirate.
Yeah, there you go. The superstitions and that having those lead in. The accuracy of this was one of those things. So the accuracy of the sailing with the fake ship and everything like that, leading out how much, showing on the rope that it had the knots, and then telling him that I've let it out 12 knots. Right. All this, flipping the dial, to show the time for the passage of time. That is something I do know. That I got to give myself a little bit of a high five on this. So what they did is they took a marker that ship passed, and they flipped that sand hourglass, right? And that was a 3-minute hourglass. So what they were doing is, it's going to take 3 minutes before we pass this much time. So they were checking their speed in the storm and for how much time it was going to take to catch up on them, or with the Acheron, and that's when he figures out about 5.5 hours. Okay. So I keyed in on that, and I was just really happy with myself on that one because I don't know shit about sailing. Yeah. Now this is the thing with Harlem. When they had to cut the rope and sacrifice that shipmate.
Oh yeah.
The real painful part about that was how hard they had to work to sacrifice a mate.
Yep. No, it wasn't just a chopping it down. It took 3 guys, multiple hits to free that rope and leave that kid behind.
That was the thing. It wasn't the kid went under or anything like that. The kid was just out floating on the ocean, potentially on the debris. Like, we don't know.
And because the stuff that's fallen off is kind of anchoring them down, so if he can actually swim to them, because they're not sailing away yet, because they're being held down by the debris. But the problem is that same debris is also sinking them, so they have to cut it now before they all drown. And so that's why they're even yelling. They're yelling at him while they're cutting the ropes, knowing full well that if they cut the ropes before he gets back, he's dead. They're yelling at him, keep swimming, get over here. If you can get here in time, you won't die, but we are currently murdering you, so move your ass.
Yeah, that's just the reality of war. And that is a beautifully designed moment of just pure tragedy.
Yeah.
But what made that even worse was as soon as it got cut and the kid was being sent off to death, everybody who was below deck who had no idea what was going on was cheering for
that.
Cheering
got me
for that.
Too. Yeah,
that hit me. That hit me pretty hard.
The boat rights itself and everybody under deck realizes they're not sinking now. They all cheer while that kid's floating away to the abyss.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
And then Bettany and Russel, the comfort between them as like when people die in battle, it's the easiest way to go. Like how Bettany comforts or Crowe in this was it was done very, very, very well.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you noticed this. Did you notice the guy pooping off the bow?
No, I did not. Thank God. Because that would have just been one more anxiety to pile on this whole movie.
So,
because that shit's windy out there.
Not just windy, but it was the scene where they were going through and they were like, right before they started cheering because they turned the ship around and they were heading north back towards the sun. But you see all the snow, all the ice on the ship and everything like that. And then as it goes around, there's a guy like right up on, it's either the bow or the stern of the boat, like right at the very front. And you just see his trousers just sitting around his ankles, and you just see nothing but knees, and he's just staring off into the ocean while he's pooping. And I thought...
Which I'm sure must be cathartic.
Realistic as hell. And the fact that they included that in there was... It's one of those things, it does not matter if it's there or not. But the fact that it was there... It just sings to the accuracy that they went for with this, and I thought that was incredible. Bettany the spy's hesitation about the Galapagos. I really latched on to Bettany being a spy on this. I really did. That's so damn dumb of me. But when I saw him and being hesitant about the Galapagos, what I was curious about is, does he know that the Acheron is there? And that's why he was hesitant about it. Because he would have had to play like, I want to go to this island, but if he knows the Acheron is there, then he would not be allowed to. And he wouldn't be able to bring attention to it. So that was the way that they did that, I thought was completely perfect if Bettany was the spy. It's a long, thin island. You have to sail around it. Drop me off, I'll go. I thought that was setting up Bettany reporting in with the Acheron.
Ah, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
It was so incredibly well set up to be that, and it wasn't, which I think you're right. Like that had to be something Peter Weir was doing to let the audience be suspicious about it.
Yeah.
Because, damn, it hit me like real hard.
Are you talking about when they were doing the drills to try and...
Well, I had a question about the cannon practice. The first time I watched it, I had a question about the cannon practice because where the fuck are they getting the never-ending supply of gunpowder?
I was wondering that too. I was like, man, when they're doing that, I'm sitting there going like, that's pretty ballsy to be doing. Like, you're gonna have you're wasting a lot of ammo by running these drills. Are you sure you want to do that?
No ammo. So this was Did you know? I
No,
thought that it was like
we
sponge or something.
watched them load a ball into one of them during
It
one of
wasn't
the
a ball.
drills.
It looked like wax.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh.
So there was something. I don't think I wrote it down here, but it was like the lining of sperm whale stomachs that they like throw up into the ocean. I think that's what he was catching in that net, and that's what they were loading into the cannons for practice.
Huh.
Because I'm not 100% sure why they had that note listed there in the trivia. But the thing that they were letting in there, first when I saw it, I thought maybe it was coral, like sea coral or something like that. But or sponge. I wasn't 100% sure, but it was not a cannonball. Okay. Why didn't this ship have any oars?
I was wondering that too. Yeah, when they spent like a good a week
That's
just
what
sitting
were
there in the
something
middle
like
of
that,
the
yeah.
ocean because there's no wind and all that tension, on Holland and everybody that this was literal sailor hell, and they can't even so much as like paddle to where the wind is. Like, what's
That's
going
what
on?
I was really curious about because they showed the 3 boats at the beginning of the movie towing, like using the oars and towing the boat through the fog.
Right, they did that as part of the escape. So why didn't they do that?
I really don't understand why this part of the movie went this way, but as well as this series was praised about how accurate and everything, there has to be a reason. It just
Okay.
it just wasn't explained, which maybe I'm not as smart as I thought I was. Maybe they shouldn't trust their audience as much as I want them to. The heavy disobedience. So here's something I was a little curious what your opinion on that was going to be, because I thought it was completely perfect and done exactly correct. But what did you think about the discipline scene?
Well, I thought it was. I mean, story wise, it kind of all fit together. If we're talking like, you know, I think to that degree, and I don't know if this was supposed to just be like the focus is on what's happening with Holland and why he's having trouble with the crew. I I think what Crowe's character missed out on here is the issue, for whatever the reason is. Rich pansy boy nobody respects. He isn't, doesn't have any confidence, and he even tells him, "You've got to find that confidence. You are supposed to be a leader. You're supposed to order these motherfuckers around. So if one of them is insubordinate to you, you're supposed to give him shit.
But he also says, "Don't be a tyrant."
He also says, "Don't be a tyrant." But the thing is, and here's the thing: he doesn't give Holland the opportunity to do that at that
Disagree.
moment. No, here's the thing.
No, I'm not, yeah, go.
So it's like, yeah, he gives him his shit. Like, why didn't that guy shouldered you and didn't salute? Why didn't you do anything? And he goes like, "Oh well, I was thinking about it, but you interrupted me beforehand." Bullshit excuse. We know that. We've already seen him chicken out on every. Yeah, we've seen him chicken out already. But like, okay, so if it were me, and I know I'm not a sea captain, so I don't know, but if it were me, I would have said, "Okay, well, this is your problem. I just threw this dude in the brig for not saluting you. From here on out, he's your problem. You decide if I let him out. You decide when he gets let out, what the conditions are. If we're, normal practice is that we're supposed to whip him. It's on you if we whip him, and if we do, you whip him. Like, this is your opportunity to be a leader. I am literally putting this dude who has committed an offense against you, I'm putting his fate in your hands. You decide right now what his fate is and follow the fuck through with it." But he didn't do that.
That would have been good. That actually, I do agree with that. That would have been good. I thought the way Russell Crowe handled that was what you said was good. I did think what Russell Crowe did there was perfect, because Aubrey did not show any dereliction of his duty, and that's his job. So when he disrespected that, and it happened right in front of the captain. Right. The captain has to show, "I'm not taking that shit," because what he said right after that about mutiny is right. You show too much weakness and all of this stuff, and you show like people can do all this stuff and be like, look, I'm on your side. Don't like I get it. He's an asshole. Like no, the captain, the buck stops there.
Right. Okay.
So for the times, I thought that was exactly perfect, and even as a leader, I think that was the right way to go as well. But I do actually very much respect what you said. I think that would be a very wise way to go.
And that may be probably what might have been the point of the scene is that Aubrey following the letter of the law in this situation, how that just made things worse for Holland, and it just a further illustration of how Holland is just in over his head.
Oh yeah, that character should never have been on that boat.
Right. Yeah, and I think it was just sort of it wasn't supposed to be a moral question of what's right or wrong in this situation. It was just supposed to be an illustration of just how fucked this poor kid was from the get-go.
But what did you think about the ominous respect that came directly following that scene?
Oh, that was
the most unsettling moment of the entire
That's
movie
the thing. Like that, like I totally get why Holland like had that panic attack, because I would have too. I'd have looked at all these people standing up and sarcastically saluting me when they don't need to. I'm sitting. If that were me, I'd be going,
right yeah. To my face. Yeah.
I would have absolutely at that moment gone, oh, I'm not going to live through the fucking night. They're going to stab me in my sleep. That's
what I thought was going to happen.
I'm fucked.
That is 100% what I thought was going to happen. His suicide scene was perfect. It was perfect.
And he took a cannonball with him, motherfucker. Could have used that.
Yeah, but how did you feel about that though? Because I had a thought that you might have a problem with that.
Well, I mean, I think my only issue with that is that I was never given a chance to give a shit about Holland to begin with. The only time he's shown is when he's shown in over his head and being fucked with. At no point am I being given a reason to care about him as a person. He is a foil. He is representative of an over and out of his league character with nothing else going on.
Yeah. Okay.
So at the end of it, it's like, okay, yes, what we have here is a tragic illustration of just how fucked the Royal Navy was, even for the Pansy Boys that should have had, that had the land and everything handed to them. Even they get fucked in the situation. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, since I was never given an opportunity to care about his character as a person, at the end of the day, it just kind of felt like needless drama in a way, literally, like in when people complain of movies getting too preachy, this was like that kind of thing. It was, no, we want to show you how bad it is, in the 1800s in the Navy, but they don't really think about why this applies to the narrative. It's just sort of shoehorned in of, oh, by the way, life sucked, I
don't know, man. It didn't hit me the same way. I thought it fit.
Yeah.
I thought it fit.
And that's the thing, is like I did not. You do not get to know Holland as a character in any way other than he's the guy who doesn't belong there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they could have given us a 5-minute, here's what would have been great. Here's what would have fixed it. After the scene where everyone salutes him and he has his panic attack, and the other officer kids are there, just, they're being cool with him. Here's your water. Yeah, you can sit in the corner here. We will surround you and protect you. We get it.
Dude, the one was making fun of him, going, he's just shirking work like he always does.
Yeah, but the other three were just like, dude, lay off. He's one of us. Is basically what they were saying. But that would have been a good moment for him to talk as a person, to basically, even a speech, some kind of like, usual speech where he could even say, I don't even want to be here. He's like, I wanted to stay at home and study music, but my father told me I needed to learn how to be a man and sent me here. Like,
I could see how that would have made it
like,
a little bit more tragic. Yeah,
but
I
something
can
like
see
that
that.
would have made me care about him a little bit more, and probably would have made his suicide hit me more. But that's the thing, is like he was a two-dimensional character.
Well,
That's
that's the
the
thing. There was no member of the crew that actually stood out as a character to me. It was Jack. It was Aubrey. It was Moulton, I think his name was.
mm.
Um, anyway,
Well, those
Bettany's
other
character, Crowe's
the kid
character.
the kid who lost his arm was a fully formed character, even though I never learned his fucking name.
No. But basically, to me, there were or four characters. There
Right.
was
Okay.
the captain, the doctor, the entire crew, and the boat.
That fits.
Like
Well,
the crew seemed
and
like
yeah,
one character to me. Like the character was like the
there were
organism.
I
of
would
the
say
crew.
a fifth character would be like the other officers.
Oh, the other
like
captain. Oh,
yeah. Well, not the other captain. The other, because that officers table, whenever they have dinner and all the officers are there, you've got three characters there. You've got Bettany, Aubrey, and the other officers are the
okay.
three characters sitting at the table, and then the rest of the crew would be character number four, I guess, in your description. But I felt like the interns, the kids that were lieutenants,
Well,
the rich kid
yeah,
interns,
because
they
in the
kind of were.
like in future movies, they would have had bigger roles. They would have taken bigger positions. When the doctor and Jack went over for missions, they would have taken charge of the surprise.
Right.
Which I really enjoyed the line, like when the whole stick bug thing and all that. But we're about there. We're about there.
Yep.
Um,
That is. I went back and forth on whether or not surprise was a good name for a boat. Like, there were moments I was like, that's ridiculous, but there were moments where I was like, okay, no, yeah, I get it, that works. I was constantly flipping back and forth on whether or not I liked the name
better than
surprise for a
Jenny.
boat. Jenny.
I name my boat Jenny. But I did like the fact that when they changed the name to Siren, they went with the old Greek spelling of the word siren instead of the at that time current
Oh yeah,
spelling of siren.
that was a nice touch. Yeah.
I thought that was a good touch.
If we're gonna disguise ourselves as whalers, we're gonna be whalers with style.
There you go. Also, good God, when Russell Crowe brought his hair down, what the hell? That was the
So not fair. So not fair. Not cool at all.
Jesus Christ, dude! What the hair on that guy?
Yeah. No.
Wow.
Can't have it all, Russell. That's just rude. Oh yeah,
So
that was the other thing on my
died.
list on my list of who this movie is for. I forgot to mention, if you are a fan of movies where the cast is almost entirely very beautiful men made up to look ugly but in a kind of sexy way, then this is the movie for you.
Yep, that is also accurate. It's Troy at sea and dirty.
Yeah.
So when I was asking what you thought about that, I actually meant when he grabbed the cannonball and he committed suicide using the cannonball. That's what I was asking. Because at first I was like, a lot of people are going to hate that because they'll just be like, well, why doesn't he just let go? But at a certain point, if you're falling fast, once you let go, you don't have time to get back up to the surface. And also, if you're falling that fast and it's deep enough, your lungs either explode, collapse. What happens at that with pressure?
Well, I think it's like at a certain point, the pressure will force the air out of your lungs, and there's no breath to hold at that point. So even if you let go, you have that much less time to get to the surface to breathe because you have no air in your lungs. In fact, at that point, you're not even going to float to the surface because you have no air in your lungs.
Yeah, I thought I kind of assumed that people who would watch that might have a problem with that because it wasn't chained to his leg or something. But it's like the ocean's a scary place.
No, yeah, that's the thing is like, because I had already gone through that with the kid already floating away when they cut the ropes away. Like, I'm sitting here going like, dude, it's not like he's gonna get tired in like 20 minutes and not be able to stay up, and he's just gonna sink and drown. Like, it's not even like.
Yeah.
Like, he gets to spend a lot of time thinking about how he's gonna die. Like that, but yeah, no, I got it because you grab the weight and it sinks you super fast, so that if in the moment you know, it probably something he gave a lot of thought to leading up to that point. Is that if
Probably.
in the moment,
Well, just what you said.
the
He
survival,
wasn't making it through the night.
yeah,
He knew that.
if the survival instinct kicks in and you change your mind, you got to give yourself less of an opportunity to change your mind. So that's what he was
I
doing
don't
that
think
for.
it was. Yes, it was suicide, obviously, but I think it was. He knew, or he thought he knew that they were going to kill him.
Right.
So
And
he
he'd rather
wanted
go
to
out his
take
own
the
way.
decision to go out on his own. That's
Yeah.
how I read that scene.
You know, I could see that. I wasn't sure because it was. I think I was the way they were skipping through time in that, where they like jump through.
Were
like,
you able to
different days.
figure out how much time passed? I wasn't.
I'm relatively certain that it was a week. I'm like 90% sure that it was.
Gotta be more than that. Gotta be. The dude's head healed up.
Okay, so yeah, it might have been more than that.
And the kid's arm healed up.
So that would have been. It would have had to have been like a month or more then, if that was
It
the case.
had to be, because I mean they went all the way. They were Brazil. They went all the way past Brazil, all the way down, and they went till the waters got so cold that it was close to Antarctica, or it was getting Antarctic, and then they turned back around.
We'll get that. We'll get to that in a second. But my point is what I wasn't sure of is that if that was the same night, like the night that he jumps off the boat with the bowling ball, is it the same night that he had the panic attack because they all saluted him right in his face? That was all the one night.
I'm fairly certain.
Okay.
Mostly because of the amount of time that they mentioned they were on the water.
Right.
And they did and then he killed himself. And then the next day they had the funeral and he tried to pass him the Bible with the story of Jonah and he just kind of hands it back to him.
Yeah.
And then the wind kicks on. So I think that was, I honestly, because like I said, I'm going to read The Bone Collector and all that stuff. And then I'm probably going to read this too. Because I don't know why I wouldn't.
The Moviegoers Book Club, man. This is going to be a whole thing.
That could be fun.
Yeah.
The bird, the shot, and the surgery. That we already mostly talked about that.
Yeah.
But I loved the fact that it was a piece of the shirt.
Yes,
that was the true danger.
That was the shirt. And I liked that too. That was a good touch. The fact that there was, a little bit of that in there, and that's what was going to fester the wound really badly and make the problem. Yeah. But this is where I kind of wondered. Because like you said, they had sailed all the way down to that point, and then the wind died, and they were stuck there in that one spot waiting for the wind to come back for we don't know how long. We can't figure that out. That's what we're. But then when the wind comes back and they're on their way and they're about to catch up with the Archon, and then the doctor gets wounded, they manage to make it all the way back to the Galapagos Isles before the doctor kicks it from the festered wound. Like the wound has not festered. He has not gotten an infection yet, which means they had to have gotten all the way back to the Galapagos Isles in like 2 days or less. And yet, see that, like, what?
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. That's a good point. Well, no, okay, so they were already turned away from the cold weather. You remember that, right? Because Paul Bettany was down, like, when they were, like, in the ice and all that stuff, then they cut to the dining room or dining hall, whatever, and they're all cheering, and Bettany's like, I'm guessing I missed some terribly fascinating nautical thing. And Russell Crowe goes, we turned back north, we're heading towards the sun. So they were already on their way back there. But you're right, I have literally no idea how much time passed, and that's why I was curious if you were able to find out, because I just couldn't. The guy who was always sitting there with the tea set and all this and cleaning up the ink and like, so when he was protecting the silver, and he at the opening scene, he told the guy, don't drop anything, and then they get blasted in the side.
Right. Yeah.
The reason that he was doing that is because that character in the books has like OCD and a pure obsession with polishing silver.
I totally read that wrong. I thought they were literally looting. I literally thought that they were like Battle's starting. Grab the silver. We're out of here. I literally thought that's what was happening.
That makes sense. I didn't see that, but damn, I didn't see that at all. That does make sense though. So breaking mission to save the doctor's life on the island leads to him reporting the Acheron. That is literally what I said. That is exactly what I thought, and it made every bit of sense. The sadness that Paul Bettany has on his face when he realizes that he has to let the animals go and all the naturalist stuff is gone. Mm-hmm. I did not see that as sadness for that. I read that as him being torn between the Benedict Arnold position that he was taking and his friendship with Captain Jack.
Okay.
Man, I really did not like... I need to go back and watch this movie a third time because clearly I did not see the movie I was supposed to see. The surgery, opening the cages, we already talked about all that. Oh, the stick bug.
The stick bug, yes.
Yes, the stick bug inspires what they do and what happens to them. That is what I loved it. I love that it worked both ways, because they went camouflage to trick the French, and then they boarded the French vessel, and the French went camouflage and played fucking possum.
Yes, and I remember being suspect too. Like as soon when he goes in and sees the captain,
I wanted to know why they didn't just walk on and just start stabbing people just to check. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, like they board and everyone's laying down and they're like, "Oh, did we get them all?" And I'm like, "Obviously not, moron. Stab the bodies, make sure." But right. No, they fell for it. And then later on, when they go to find the captain and the captain's lying dead in the infirmary, I'm like, "Are you sure? They already got you once, buddy. Check to make sure." But no, he didn't. And then that's our like the ending of them going, "Wait a second."
I did like that the child commander pulled it off, though.
Yes, that was good. I was proud of him for that one.
Yeah. Because that was the thing. Like, none of the children in this movie were treated as children. They were in positions and they were given responsibilities and they were actually treated as people who held those responsibilities. And I've never seen another movie that has actually gone that way.
No, yeah. Usually when they do have something like this, they will harken back to the like child labor, everybody's like when they're only like 10 years old, they're put into their career kind of stuff. They will still have the adult characters treat them like kids, good or bad. They've never just glossed over like, "Oh no, in the 1800s you were an adult at 10, yep. and that was how everyone talked to you. They didn't have. Yeah,
and they actually did it that way in this movie, and I got like a lot of praise for Peter Weir on that one. I did like I loved the speech, Russell Crowe's speech in this right before the final battle. I thought that was done very well. I thought he did and his final line, "Surprise is on our side."
That was yes.
You know what?
That was the moment
I have to love the boat name.
That was the moment I really got behind the boat name. Yes, I wasn't entirely behind it up to that point, but I was like, "Oh, okay, I get it now." Another pun.
And I will say what I really liked is when the Acheron was approaching the disguised Surprise, when they fired the cannon and nobody responded, nobody reacted, anything like that. Perfect, because the French vessel, the Acheron, was firing at them to see if they were going to respond and fire back at them. And they never explained that either.
No, he didn't have to. It was obvious.
It should be obvious.
Well, they even said beforehand, they when they were doing the drills, they said, "Wait, we got to wait until they're right next to us till they fire. So be quiet, stay, hold fast kind of thing." So yeah, I felt they did explain it, but they explained it in a quick and normal, not sounding like exposition at all way.
Which one thing I really got to say, what a great year for Billy Boyd. Because
what else was he in that year?
Lord of the Rings.
Oh, right. Okay, now. Right.
So
Now I
all
remember.
of the
Yes,
Oscars,
I did see him. Yes,
Billy
I
Boyd
did.
basically swept the Oscars that year.
Now I remember. It's like it hit me when. Okay, yes, I remember when I first saw him on. I went. Oh, it's Mary or Pippin. Like,
That's what yeah, I said the same thing to Kelly. I was like, a fool of a toque. Actually, Doc, you go first. I went first on the first one.
Final thoughts? Well, I mean, I gave him in my first thoughts. I was not the target audience for this film, but even then, it was well made enough that I still got it. I was still there for it. I do not regret seeing it. I was not bored or unhappy while watching it. I feel like if I was the target audience, if I was a nautical person, if I was a military person, I would have appreciated this way, way more.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, if those are your genres, if you're into that, then this is probably the most perfect film you will ever see in those genres, in my opinion.
That is one thing I will say about this. I'm glad you did say it that way because that is how I feel about it as well. It is not a movie for me, but that does not make this not a perfect film.
True. Yes.
This is a perfect film.
Yep.
I cannot find any flaw in it. The acting is amazing. It was shot beautifully. Peter Weir went out in a typhoon to shoot the typhoon to have footage for this movie. Like there's no CGI. Like everything is there's like the ship was broken up into 3 different sections for sound stages. That way, at no time were they ever able to not film.
I still and I know like part of it was I did see this when I was looking it up that it was partly filmed on location in the Galapagos Islands.
Mm-hmm.
And then
it was the first film in history to be allowed to film on the Galapagos Islands. But when they were chasing the iguanas, that scene was filmed in like Santa Monica or something like that. And it was a dyed iguana. Like they dyed the iguana black.
That makes sense, yes.
But this movie is the first the first film to film on the Galapagos Islands.
That's mad respect that they were able to get that, yeah. But also the fact that a lot of the scenes were, of course, done in the big giant studio tanks, where they basically, they built soundstage boats.
Put it on. So it wasn't a tank. It was an outdoor pool. No, it was a tank, but it was like right next to the ocean, and they just like dug out this huge section. But the soundstage, those were only for the inside the ship shots. Everything else, everything that was out was either out on the ocean, or it was in this big tank where I think.
To my understanding, there's a specialty studio that is nothing but big giant tanks for water filming, and that's where they filmed it. Yeah.
Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next week.